We commence the seminar with a recitation from the Holy Quran by Sheikh Ihsanuddin.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أتى أمر الله فلا تستعجلوه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون. ينزل الملائكة بالروح من أمره على من يشاء من عباده أن أنذروا أنه لا إله إلا أنا فاتقون. خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق تعالى عما يشركون. والأنعام خلقها لكم فيها دفء ومنافع ومنها تأكلون. ولكم فيها جمال حين تريحون وحين تسرحون. صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this seminar is organized by the coordination group on this important juncture. As the development landscape is fast changing, emergence of new economic powers and donors are also emerging. Development community is grappling with ambitious development agenda, including the Sustainable Development Goals and climate change. In this backdrop, there is a need for a greater collaboration between partner countries and providers of development assistance to make development cooperation more effective in delivering development through innovative and coherent way and giving the countries full charge in the development process. It is important to deliberate together the future priorities of Asian countries and the role the coordination group can play. The seminar, beside the inaugural session, will cover two main sessions. The first will be the role the coordination group play in Southeast Asia and the country's perspectives, which will highlight the contribution of the coordination group to development across the world and more specifically to the Southeast Asia region. Then two partner countries will present their needs and priorities for implementation of the SDGs. Then we will hear two success stories of the projects that will be presented by the beneficiaries as well. The following session will deliberate on the role that the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, or as it is known as GPEDC, and the private sector can play in implementing the SDGs. So without much ado, let me invite His Excellency, the President of IDB, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Praised is Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, His Excellency the Brother Bamba Jododo Negoro, the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, and IDB Governor, Your Excellencies, the representatives of the coordination institutions, dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On the behalf of the institutions and entities of the coordination group, I would like to welcome you all to this blessed seminar. At the outset, allow me to introduce the coordination group to you, which is an alliance of 10 financial institutions concerned with development that was established by Arab and Islamic states and members of the OPEC organization in the 70s of the previous century. The financing of the coordination group has exceeded 138 countries in all continents of the world without exception. During the period from 1970 to 2015, the aggregate financing amount approved by the coordination group exceeded 164 billion US dollars, including approximately 18 billion US dollars that were approved in 2015 alone. At the time when the coordination group is developing and stimulating and promoting South-South cooperation, it has also financed development projects in both private and public sectors to expedite the growth pace by developing infrastructure and productive sectors, reinforcing substantially the human development and contributing effectively to the increase in the amount of trade and investment. Over the past 6 years, between 2010 and 2015, the coordination group has approved development projects and programs with an aggregate financing amount of 21 billion US dollars for countries in Asia, which makes this group and its potential, its financing, a substantial and significant effective contribution towards supporting development in the countries of Asia. Your Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters, as you all know, This seminar is being held following the adoption of the SDGs, which are quite ambitious in view of the climate change strategy, in light of the climate change strategy. Implementing this new development strategy by 2030 requires resource mobilization and partnership mobilization effectively, and also new cooperative approaches. In line with the Addis Ababa agenda regarding financing development, there is a need to develop innovative financing mechanisms and resource mobilization, cooperative resource mobilization mechanisms. There's also a need for a greater role to be played by the private sector, particularly in financing major projects that are also commercially feasible. Dear brothers and sisters, in support of the SDGs and the commitments that have been undertaken by the partnering coordination groups, the heads of the coordination group institutions have adopted a declaration on the 17th of May 2016 in Vienna that calls to enhancing developmental cooperation and increasing resources allocated for development countries, and also recommended to a greater matching with a greater homogeneity with the SDGs. The cooperation towards development, GEPC coordination and its steering committee ensures us without doubt that progress has been achieved on the international development agenda in an effective manner. The upcoming high-level meeting for the GEPCD Global Partnership that will be held in Nairobi. Dear brothers and sisters, allow me to give you a quick overview of the challenges and opportunities in the Southeast Asia region. In spite of the massive potential for growth and development, the region still faces a number of development challenges, including the increase in poverty in some areas and the drop in human capital and a massive gap in infrastructure. In spite of the global financial crisis, the region has achieved economic growth at 5% over the past decade, which needs a speeding up of development over a longer span of time to improve the quality of the lives of people. The countries of Southeast Asia requires a huge amount of investments over the coming 10 years, estimated to reach $2.5 trillion to address the infrastructure gap. For that, we found that the President of the Republic of Indonesia ensures in his programs for the current years, or emphasizes the area of infrastructure. This financing cannot be achieved using the current sources unless new resources are mobilized from the private sector and new development projects are set up that can provide financing. Dear brothers and sisters, the outlook tells us that reinforcing cooperation and integration at the regional level through facilitation of trade and investment and improving economy can help achieve progress along the development path in this important region of the world. The South and Southeast Asian region needs to improve productivity and develop human resources and enhance the business atmosphere by involving the private sector. The region has the potential that allows it to reinforce cooperation in the area of intertrade and to expand its production base and diversify its economies. I am totally certain that all of us together can support the region of South and Southeast Asia and help it to overcome the challenges that it is currently facing and realize SDGs. Dear brothers and sisters, the coordination group would remain totally willing to work closely with the international development community to realize and accomplish our common task of accomplishing sustained and inclusive development in the region of South and Southeast Asia at a larger level as well in all IDB member countries, which are 57 in number, and to call for further communication and cooperation among the coordination group and financial and development institutions in the region. IDB is totally willing to carry out effective efforts in this area by organizing joint missions and joint financing and conducting studies and so on and so forth. I look forward to fruitful deliberations during this seminar and positive outcomes. I can only express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to the participants on this panel for agreeing to contribute, and also to all participants for being with us. Also, many thanks go to the organizing committee of this important event. Before I conclude, I would like to address His Excellency the Minister and tell him that the presence of the coordination group in its full number is a marvelous opportunity to present the activities of this coordination group and to improve cooperation between Indonesia and the coordination group to the benefit of this dear and beloved country. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I now also, on your behalf, thank His Excellency the Minister of Finance for taking the time of his busy schedule to join us in this occasion. Your Excellency.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, President of IDB Group, Excellency Rob Swartbol, Ambassador of Netherlands in Indonesia, distinguished panelists, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is an honor for me to welcome you in this seminar on Coordination Group's contribution to the development of Southeast Asia and Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation today. Last year was a milestone for global development, where more than 150 countries agreed on an Agenda 2030 for sustainable development, including the adoption of 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets. In addition, at the end of last year, global commitment for climate change agenda was adopted in Paris to halt the increase in the global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and pursuing efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, have set ambitious agenda to achieve Millennium Development Goals by tackling global issues such as poverty, inequality, injustice, environmental degradation, and natural resource overexploitation by 2030. Furthermore, the 17 goals and 169 targets are expected to increase economic growth and prosperity and meet people's health, education, and social needs while protecting the environment. In a national perspective, Indonesia has translated and integrated Sustainable Development Goals into national and local development agenda. The National Medium-Term Development Plan 2015-2019 reflects President Joko Widodo's National Development Agenda, well known as Nawacita or 9 Priorities Agenda, and global goals in the Sustainable Development Goals. In terms of inequality, for instance, the National Medium-Term Development Plan has targeted to reduce the Gini coefficient to 0.36 by the end of 2019 from 0.41 in 2014 through combination of policies both at central and local level, which align with the SDG 10. Government of Indonesia also takes the global temperature issue seriously by committing to reduce the national greenhouse gas emission by 29% from projected level in 2030 through stepping up protection of forests and boosting the renewable energy sector. Having more than 50% of its land is forest area, Indonesia plays an important role as global carbon sink to achieve Paris Agreement target. Mitigation and adaptation targets are structured into national action plans regulated by presidential decree. Financing for sustainable development is challenging, particularly for developing countries those resources, capacities, and technologies are limited. Therefore, both private and public financing from domestic and international sources are necessary, while promoting effective institution and governance to allocate some investment towards sustainable development. Islamic financing, such as Islamic microfinancing, Waqf, and Zakah, can play an important role in eradicating poverty and inequality. Waqf and Zakat are examples of the solidarity-based financing to strengthen the needy through provision of access to education and health facilities, while Islamic microfinancing effectively plays dual missions of socio-religious and economic objective. The socio-religious function is to support the destitute and the needy, while the economic objective is related to the activities dedicated to generating profits in order to maintain their long-term operation and financial sustainability. The global goals create not only challenges, but also opportunities for a renewed cooperation among global community. The convergence of national agenda with sustainable development goals will create opportunities for countries to engage regionally and internationally through mutual partnership in the areas of economic development and trade, as well as politics, democracy, and human rights. Regional and multilateral cooperation should aim in particular at contributing to global and regional development to achieve SDGs 17, as well as sharing of experience in democratization, conflict resolution, and economic development. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude my remark, let me reiterate my belief that the Sustainable Development Agenda is critical, not only for the IDB group members and Southeast Asia region, but also for the world population. Therefore, we need to stand together with the global community to do our best to achieve the target. I believe that we shall engage in a fruitful and important discussion today that would help determine our ability and capacity to achieve sustainable development objective in our respective countries. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Minister. Now, let us invite Mr. Rob Schwartzel, Ambassador of the Netherlands in Indonesia, representing the co-chair of the GPEDC from the Netherlands, to deliver a keynote address on the contribution of the GPEDC in enhancing development effectiveness and role the GPEDC can play in realizing the SDGs. You have the floor, yours.
Mr. President of the IDB, Mr. Ahmed Mohamed Ali, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Bambang Brojonegoro, dear panelists, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, thank you so much for inviting the Netherlands to this seminar. My minister, Liliane Ploumen, would have loved to be here today, but unfortunately obligations at home make that impossible. It's the economy, full attention needed at home. But before coming here as ambassador, I was Director General for Development Cooperation for a couple of years, working for Minister Ploumen. So I hope you will accept me as her replacement and as representation of the co-chair of the Global Partnership for Effective Development. I think we have some slides, so maybe the first slide can come up. That's it, thank you. I want to acknowledge, and it was also mentioned by the President, the great work of the Arab Coordination Group. The group, and in particular Ofid, as a member of the GPEDC Steering Committee, has been truly instrumental in fully endorsing the principles of development effectiveness. And as co-chair, we appreciate their active participation in the Global Partnership. So thank you for that. Now, as you might know, GPEDC, maybe not you're all very familiar with the terms, the Global Partnership is a global multi-stakeholder partnership that drives greater effectiveness, quality, and impact of all types of development cooperation to help all actors to realize the already mentioned 2030 SDG agenda. Now, the GPEDC, and I will call it Global Partnership from now on, has been set up to ensure accountability for the implementation of effective development cooperation commitments at the political level. Now, the Global Partnership has three interrelated objectives to contribute to SDG implementation. That is supporting political momentum, supporting country-level implementation, and monitoring and review. And all three objectives should be reinforcing and underpinned by knowledge exchange. Now, the high-level meeting 2 was already mentioned, which will take place on the 30th of November and the 1st of December in Nairobi this year, will set the stage for the realization of these medium-term objectives. Now, if you allow me, let me take you through a couple of the key essences of the Global Partnership and the upcoming summit that could be maybe useful. Next slide, please. The Global Partnership, it's a network that provides room for constructive dialogue and reflection amongst various stakeholders groups. Important that it has a very strong voice of the Global South. I know the times when that was different. It has room for new and innovative ideas, and we already have 32 global partnership initiatives. Now, the Global Partnership can make a serious contribution to the means of implementation, which all agreed upon, of the SDGs by raising the quality of partnerships for development. And there's momentum at the moment. 1 year after the adoption of the global goals, the time is now to act. Next slide. You will find a typically development language, inclusiveness, multi-stakeholder approach. You know this all if you're working in that sector. But the Global Partnership is truly unique. It's inclusive because it brings governments, businesses, organizations, private foundations, parliamentarians, and many other to take actions together. That's the first time ever, I would say. It's action-oriented. It's not only about talking. It has a country-focused approach that has made and will continue to make a difference to development results in a range of countries. It's open. It provides a troubleshooting forum where developing countries, providers, and others can air concerns and find solutions. And it's also interesting to know that anyone can join. And it's flexible. It has a rolling agenda, and about every 1.5 to 2 years, it picks key topics that development actors think are critical to improving development cooperation, underpinned by key principles. Next slide, please. Why effectiveness for development? Why development effectiveness? The President already dwelled upon that, but why now? Well, first of all, of course, we have the 2030 SDG agenda that marks really a new era for development cooperation. First, it's universal. It's transformative. These are new elements in the development agenda. And governments, that's the second thing, cannot do it alone. Our colleague from Malaysia will talk about the crucial role of the business community. We are strong advocates of their involvement. Now, the Global Partnership principles contribute to effective development. Ownership by development countries, that's crucial, key. Without that, that will not work. Focus on the results, inclusive development partnerships, and transparency and accountability towards each other. It's a sort of peer pressure as well, I must admit. And good to know, there's formal recognition of the Global Partnership in the SDG process through SDG number 17, target number 16, for those who want to know exactly. Next slide, please. What are the ambitions for the high-level meeting 2 that will take place in Nairobi? I think that's good to share with you from the viewpoint, of course, of the co-chairs. I'm speaking on behalf of them. First of all, it's to welcome and involve all stakeholders. Continued support from the Arab Coordination Group, of course, is not only wanted, it's crucial as they play such a constructive role. We also like to provide new insights from monitoring exercises in more than 81 countries. As I told you, review and monitoring is a crucial part of this process, and the results of these monitoring exercises and reviews will be presented there as well. That's the ambition, at least. We'd like also to unleash the potential of multi-stakeholder partnerships. Some other colleagues will raise that as well. We'd like to facilitate cross-fertilization between different countries and regions. This region is important, the Middle East, but also Africa and Latin America. We can learn from each other. And lastly, we'd like to present global partnership initiatives that contribute to effective development, especially on the country level, where ownership is crucial. Next slide, please. The high-level meeting 2 will comprise of 2 days of preparatory meetings, that's on the 28th and the 29th of November, and 2 days of the high-level segment, the 30th of November and 1st of December. Now, the preparatory sessions will include a stock-taking on the second GPEDC monitoring round, as I promised, and opportunities for a range of stakeholders to meet in advance of the high-level segments. The findings and the recommendations of the preparatory sessions will feed into the plenary sessions during the high-level segment. So also your participation in the first 2 days is crucial. Now, the high-level segment will include, and you see them there on your screen, 7 plenary sessions, and these are the topics we will dwell upon. There will be also 12 amphitheater sessions at which specific sticky issues and challenges will be debated, and a broad range of side events showcasing successful development cooperation initiatives. And all these side events and the amphitheater sessions, again, will be fed into the plenary session when appropriate, of course. Next slide, please. 2 outcome documents are foreseen, or more outcome documents are foreseen. Important, this whole process of the outcome documents will be led by Ambassador Macharia Kamau, who was previously heavily involved as co-facilitator of the UN process leading to the SDGs and the Agenda 2030. So really a great leader in this respect. Also, the core functions of the mandate are streamlined into 3 reinforcing functions, and I said them before, but I'd like to repeat them. Supporting political momentum, supporting country-level implementation, and monitoring and review, all supported by dialogue and knowledge exchange. Last slide, or the first last. Next slide, please. So, what do we like to see to make this all happen? And of course, we're humble as co-chair, but all stakeholders can contribute to it. From you, if I may be so blunt, you know the Dutch, we're always blunt. Your input for the Nairobi outcome document and the renewed mandate for the global partnership is crucial. I hope you will make that happen. Your experiences, the best practices, and lessons learned to showcase during the high-level meeting, plenary session, or side events is crucial as well. We learn from the best practice of others, so even if their mistakes are made. And, if possible, and that's the last remark, financial support would be very welcome, not only for the joint support team, but especially for Kenya as host of the high-level meeting too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency Ambassador. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Minister of Finance and National Treasurer in Kenya, who is the co-chair of the GPEDC, has regretted that he is unable to join us in this seminar due to the annual budget session. So on your behalf, we'd like to thank their excellencies for their opening and welcoming remarks, and we are ready to move on to the next session very shortly. We will start the session by a short video introducing the coordination group and how development assistance is coordinated and delivered. Also show the coordination group will be supporting development countries in implementation of the SDGs. Let's watch the video.
Our policies support every country's right to determine the course of its own development, while our long-standing cooperation delivers maximal resources with minimal waste. 2/3 of our commitments are concessional loans to predominantly low and middle-income partner countries for public sector projects they themselves define and execute. Funding for infrastructure is a constant priority, particularly in the Africa region, where efforts to secure water, food and energy remain a pressing concern. The Coordination Group takes a holistic approach to development. Mindful of inherent links across sectors, we concentrate on those with wide-ranging impact. New roads have opened up land for productive use, whilst facilitating the flow of goods and services. Reliable water and sanitation services have helped prevent the spread of disease and foster health, while more efficient irrigation methods have boosted agricultural outputs and food supply. Increasing access to energy has stimulated economic growth and greatly improved people's living conditions. Local capacity is key to effective development, which is why the Coordination Group continuously focuses on helping partner countries build up their knowledge base. The Coordination Group meets at regular 6-month intervals to harmonize programs and synchronize strategies. Our institutions have agreed to enhance internal systems and diversify our engagement with partner country communities in order to increase our effectiveness. As a member of the GPEDC Steering Committee, we welcome the opportunity to help shape the post-2015 agenda for development that is both sustainable and truly transformational.
Let me wholeheartedly welcome you and thank you very much for responding to our invitation. We are approaching the real paradigm shift, so to speak. So I hope this time, with the 17 goals, I hope that we will see something different.
This time is not the North is educating the South how to live a better life. This time is much more democratic, much more inclusive. We're talking about global goals for all of the members of this world.
Without economic growth as a fundamentals, it's hard to believe all the social sectors, all the environmental issues will be taken care of or will be sustainable.
A lot of the implementation of the SDGs is going to depend on having better science, on having better data.
The European Union, being the leading global donor, is fully aware of its responsibilities in finishing both the unfinished business and preparing for the SDGs.
The main challenge that we're going to be seeing in the SDGs, that you need not just partnerships with the outside world. You need this kind of partnership needs to start at home with excellent coordination that could be required at the national level and sharing information and complementing each other's effort in order to achieve these goals.
Thank you. May I now invite the following speakers to the podium. Mr. Muhammad Jamal Al-Saati, Director, Country Programs Department in the IDB. Engineer Didet Khadiyat, Head of the Project Management Unit in the Ministry of Public Works. And Mr. Burak Agok, Executive Vice President, Industrial Development Bank. And Mr. Fuad Al-Bassam, the Assistant Director General of OFID. And now to talk about the coordination group and its role that it has played in the development of Asia, may I invite Mr. Muhammad Jamal Al-Saati.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, Excellencies, sisters, brothers, dear colleagues. I'm really honored to speak briefly on behalf of my colleagues, the heads of the operations and the leaders of the Arab Coordination Group. So I take this opportunity to make a brief presentation on the coordination group, its role, the way it functions. I think His Excellency President Ahmed Muhammad Ali and also the video have made my life easy. I think they have already presented few of the things that I want to talk about, but it doesn't hurt. I'll go through some additional information. Next, please. Okay, so I'll be briefly talking about the membership of the Arab Coordination Group, the features of the development financing, the type of financing that the group offers, the mechanism, how we work, the mandate. I think it was highlighted previously, but again, I'll go through it again. The key principles of our work as a group, and I'll end with some highlights of the financing. Next. So as His Excellency the President mentioned, the Arab Coordination Group is composed currently of 10 members. We have 4 bilaterals and 6 multilaterals. So without the order, I just go, the composition is the the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development, which is based in Abu Dhabi, UAE, the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, based in Kuwait, the Arab Gulf Program for Development, AG Fund, based in Riyadh, the Arab Monetary Fund in Abu Dhabi, the Arab Fund for Economic and Social Development currently in Kuwait, the Qatar Development Fund in Doha, Qatar, the Saudi Fund for Development in Riyadh, the Badia, which is the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, which is based in Khartoum, Sudan, the OPIC Fund for International Development in Vienna, and last but not least, the Islamic Development Bank, which is in Jeddah. And also I would like to mention that this group is also coupled with other institutions that cover private sector, trade, insurance, and other things. Next, please. So what are the features of the development financing of the Arab Coordination Group? Let me start by saying we have 41 years of collaborative development exposures all over the globe. We cover economic, social, productive, and financial sectors. So whether it's infrastructure, social infrastructure, agriculture, economy, all of the sectors are covered under our financing. We work in integrated capacity development programs. So everybody's talking about capacity, whether it's the countries, whether it's the implementing agencies. So we work very closely, very hard on developing capacity of our member countries or the countries that we serve. What's unique about the work of the coordination group is flexibility. And flexibility, but ensuring quality at entry, quality during implementation, and quality at exit. However, we have flexible approach based on the needs of our country's needs. Also, we finance productive and matching productive sector and also matching our clients' needs and priorities. Our operation is covering currently nearly 138 countries around the globe. And also one thing unique about the way we work is we are working with no conditionalities. We look at the needs of the countries and we try to match it with our priorities and we deliver our assistance. Next, please. The type of development financing that we do for the the countries that we serve, of course, the majority of the funding that we do or the assistance is for the public sector. So whether it's for project financing, budget support, other means of funding under the public sector. Of course, we do private sector. So we provide loans, equity financing, capacity development, advisory for the private sector. Trade is very important in the delivery of the coordination group. So we provide loans, and these are through Murabaha, short-term financing, and also guarantees for funding, export credit, risk insurance, etc. And last but not least, technical assistance and grants for feasibility studies, consultancy, capacity development for the beneficiary countries and also the executive agencies. Next, please. Now, the modalities of our operations, without order, if I start with the policies. We work together to enhance our effectiveness in financing, and the GEPDC is one model of our engagement. Okay, we have committees on harmonization of policies and procedure, whether it's procurement, our documentation. We try as much as we can to harmonize our delivery to the beneficiaries. When it comes to coordination, we have regular consultative meetings among ourselves with development partners, whether it's the MDBs or the bilaterals. We hold regular meetings with them for consultation and on the best delivery. We have information sharing mechanism, and I'll be very transparent and frank. Among the directors of operations, we even hold informal consultation to be more effective and to deliver on a fast-track approach. We have recently launched our Arab Development Portal, and this is a platform where we can provide information to our beneficiaries for the benefit of the globe, covering sectors that we do, our data, more general information about development. So this portal has been launched recently. And we have a secretariat which is based in Kuwait in the Arab Fund for Development. It's a secretariat for the group. When it comes to operations, we hold consultations within the group. So we meet twice a year, and we alternate in meeting the venue, and we discuss at the technical level in this meeting our pipeline, we discuss policies, procedures, recent development, global development. And also our heads of institutions, they meet regularly whenever there is a need to look at macro issues or policy issues to give us guidance. And also we have joint programs and co-financing, and the numbers that have been shown in the video reveals the strength of our co-financing, our delivery. Last but not least, what are the initiatives that were involved aside from the financing and the co-financing? We're partners in many, many global initiatives, the GEPDC, the SDGs, and others. We have high-level dialogues with the OECD DAC. We regularly meet with them annually to discuss also global development issues. And last but not least, we are currently engaged in a process, what we call the deep dive, which is a deeper engagement with the World Bank Group. Of course, we do work with all other development partners, MDBs, bilaterals, regional organizations, NGOs, and the others. Next, please. What are the key principles for our work as a coordination group? We're country-owned and country-led development programs. So again, whatever the country needs, priorities, we work with them. So it's country-owned process. We're transparent in financing and project implementation. Again, everybody's talking about governance, transparency, so the group is observant to that. We support sustainable development goals, and it was highlighted in the SDGs and even before that. We're a South-South cooperation where membership of our constituencies in the like IDB, they come from the what you call the developing or underdeveloped countries. So it's a South-South model. And we are heavily involved in capacity development to the member countries, to the recipient countries, and also to our development partners. Next. This has been highlighted, but I'll just go quickly through it. The cumulative financing since more than 41 years up to the end of 2015, we have reached almost 165 billion US dollars worth of cumulative financing, about 18,000 operations covering the globe, and as I said, 138 countries all over the globe have benefited from the financing of the coordination group. And the numbers here shows the trend in our financing, which is gradually increasing. Next. Okay, here just the sectors that we cover. Again, we cover all the sectors, but I can highlight that we are heavily involved in energy and power. We're involved in transport, education, health, agriculture. So we do cover all kinds of sectors in development. Next, please. Now, since here we're in Indonesia, we're in Southeast Asia, so just some numbers about the financing of the coordination group in Asia and Middle East between 2010 and 2015. The total commitments have reached almost 29 billion US dollars. And in Indonesia alone, it's about 826 million in the past 5 years, 2010 up to 2015. Again, the same sector that we discussed. So these are just some highlights about the coordination group. The heads of the operations and some of the heads of the institution are available here. I'm just only representing them. They're here in case of any questions or any inquiries. They're here to entertain your questions and remarks. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for shedding the light on the role of the coordination group and its considerable efforts here in the region. Let us now hear the views of our two partner countries in Asia regions to provide the country perspective on the implementation of the SDGs. We will hear from the host country here of the annual meeting, Indonesia, and from Bangladesh. So let me invite Her Excellency Ibu Indah, the Deputy Minister of Environment and National Resources in Bappenas. Your Excellency.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank for the organizer and the Islamic Development Bank for inviting me to be here. I remember 2 years ago when I also accompanied my minister, which was one of the co-chair for GDEPC. Let me, abbreviate that. Wow. At that time, I was also the members of the Open Working Group in SDG. So the two of us really watched each other because the Global Partnership wanted to use SDG as the compass, as the program that will be supported by the GDEPC, but then the SDG itself is still rolling. But now I think 2015, 2016 is the very critical moment how these two, or the GDEPC, can facilitate, because the goals are there, the 17 goals, the 169 targets, and 240 indicators. That's very comprehensive. It's already there, and I think this forum is very important, how we can cooperate together in implementing SDG. I would like to share the Indonesian plan to implement SDG. How do we organize so that the coordination group can later on cooperate with us? 6 points that I would underline over here. First, please, next please. The SDG and in the Indonesian Medium-Term Development Plan was developed at the same time. That's why there are, cross-fertilization across each other, how then the SDG principle, the SDG goals even is already in the Medium-Term Development Plan. On the next slide, we can show that for you who were in the session before this session, my minister already mentioned about how the 17 goals has the corresponding national priority. And now even within the priority, we already know that